What's up guys, welcome back. The top 5 longest combos ever in this game's history. It took me a while, but made a video. The gameplay, it's I'll also leave like a link in the video description for like the original sources, right, original combos throughout the history. And I'm well aware that you know, these are only 5 card combos, interactions featuring archetypes throughout the history of this game. And again, I'm well aware that there are so many loops, so many combos, other combos not featured. I mean, it blows my mind how many loops and, you know, long combos Yugioh has. Most of them feature an FTK, you know, OTK, FTK, not giving your opponent any chance to play. But let's, you know, go to the first one, well, place number 5, I guess, and that's Synchro Fusionist. Can I call it an FTK deck? Not really, since again, you're giving your opponent a turn, but this is a deck list. The original idea is from Chris LeBlanc. Took up the deck back in 2015, and as you saw in the deck list, the deck has a lot of similarities with Dark Synchro, also a deck featured in the Banlist Cup this year in 2020. And the deck is pretty straightforward, even though it's not really an easy deck to pick up, since again you have so many decision trees you have to make, and one small mistake could, you know, stop you in your tracks. As I mentioned before, the deck has a lot of similarities with Dark Synchro, and as you know, like Dark Synchro featuring stuff like Blackwing Gofu, serving like a level 5, you know, tuner. And with Level Eater, that's of course, you know, banned for a good reason. Make sure, and that's the first synchro you'll be going towards or working towards too, and that's Hyper Librarian. I mean, you know, Hyper Librarian featuring any synchro heavy oriented deck just screams shenanigans. So what's the deck supposed to go to or working towards to? Obviously you're working towards to like reusing your Trishula, 1 or 2 copies in the extra deck, probably 1 copy. Same for Omega. Again, it's very similar to Dark Synchro, and Dark Synchro pretty much works the same way of eventually going for triple Omega, picking those cards from your opponent's hand, well, 2 actually, during the first turn, picking 2 cards from your opponent's hand, and keep reusing your Trishula. The only way by reusing your Trishula is because of the desynchro, but again, it's, well, I mean, you're seeing it here, you're basically drawing your entire deck thanks to Hyper Librarian. The deck was consistent, but keep in mind, this is a deck from 2015, so the amount of hand traps weren't that high. I mean, DD Crow was there, Veiler was there, but still, this particular deck did really well. You know, there are multiple deck profiles from Chris LeBlanc on YouTube, topping regionals for example, and of course, yeah, I'm looking at Dark Synchro as well, which has its multiple tops in the OCG for example. I mean, a deck featuring Level Eater, which again is banned, and there are other cards in this deck that, you know, also deserved the X eventually. So, I mean, the 3rd Omega during your opponent's turn kinda screws them over with their 6th card, right? Place number 4, and there are again multiple loops, multiple options, but the most important, or 2 most important key cards here is, or first of all, Grandsoil, the Elemental Lord, which eventually got an errata really quickly and was banned also for a good reason, because it was not once per turn, and Firewall Dragon. You can't really have like, you know, you can't really have a video featuring the longest combos in this game's history without talking about a card like Firewall Dragon, and well, yeah, to some extent Grandsoil as well. This particular combo was featured by, was featured back in 2017. It was a top 32 build, if I'm not mistaken. Top 32 build by Eric Dalton, indeed, so YCS Toronto back in 2017. And as I mentioned before, Grandsoil was involved into multiple loops, multiple FTK strategies. I mean, I went eventually with this build, but keep in mind you have so many other options. What's the point of the deck? The 2-card combo leading to this way is a Diagram and a Baby, the Baby Cerosaurus here in this case. And keep in mind that I did not use my normal summon, so I mean you could just search a baby, normal summon your Baby Cerosaurus, and then as you know use Overraptor to pop it and go from there. But this is the full combo without, you know, using your normal summon, and it's always keep reusing and and eventually you will make this particular setup of triple Firewall Dragon. And very important is that you will be using the middle Firewall, well, the middle between both Proxy Dragon and the most left Firewall Dragon, because it has triple co-link, you know, 3 co-links, so we'll be using its effect multiple times and getting back up to 3 monsters either on the field or from the graveyard back to the hand. So every time you'll target itself, so again you'll just send itself back to the extra deck, target the Grandsoil, which, you know, will be on the field or in the graveyard depending on when you'll be using the effect, and then depending on where you are in the combo, you'll either be bouncing back for example, your Manticore of Darkness, which is just a level 6 beast type that was searchable by Broadbull, you know, double level 6 equals Beatrice, and after that you'll keep bouncing back your level 9s, and with level 9s I mean both the Fire and Earth True King, which eventually leads to your rank 9 Exceed play, your Enter Blatinier, you know, the card that, for example, one of its effects states, it's basically a weaker Trishula, right? Your opponent needs to like banish or discard the card, or yeah, banish a card from their hands. And then, you know, you can just keep looping Firewall Dragon, target Enter Platineer, reset it in your extra deck, same with, it's always the same. Eventually going for your level 9 again, there it is again, keep looping the same Enter Platineer, and of course the same Grandsoil, which is this version, by the way, pre-errata, so again, it's not limited to once per turn. Keep special summoning Deco Talker for Firewall, keep special summoning and keep using its effect. It's always the same, but top 32 list from YCS Toronto back in 2017. Crazy stuff, right? I mean, and I'm looking at Firewall Dragon, triple Firewall, and Grandsoil. Number 3, well, place number 3, ridiculous deck. I mean, oh my god, if you played against this time or during this period and you played against this deck in regionals, rip. If the deck was able to start, you were, you know, you lost, or, you know, you could just scoop it up because it was very consistent back then. This is Gishki Mind August Hand Loop from back in 2013. There are like multiple reports online on Duelist grounds, for example, of you know, a player playing this particular deck, and if you decide to play this particular deck, you are just pissing off every opponent because it was so long. So what's the point of the deck? It of course is focused around Gishkis, again just like Grandsoil and Firewall Dragon. You can't really have like a video featuring the longest combo, longest turn, whatever, card interaction, and not talking about Gishki. So what's it's about? It's about you know, keep looping your Mind August. Mind August is one of those Gishki cards, Gishki rituals, that's currently at 1, so I'm talking about 2020, because as soon as when it was ritual summoned, it's basically a pot of avarice. So target like 5 monsters in your graveyard, send them back to the deck. So you get, well, monsters are cards, I have to say, because the combo here states, or the goal of the deck states here, or is, you want to deck out your opponent, but the first thing you need to do is to basically almost deck out yourself, so basically draw your entire deck until you have like no cards in your deck, and then, you know, you can go for the Mind August, send back 5 cards from your graveyard back to the deck, and those cards will be 1 Day of Peace, triple 1 Day of Peace. 1 Day of Peace, if you don't know, again, like an old school card, both players draw 1 card, and I believe both players will not get like damage for the rest of the turn, something like that. But the most important thing is you're forcing your opponent to draw 1 card. So basically, just keep looping your 1 Day of Peace. Hand Destruction is also a card you can keep looping because, again, it forces your opponent to draw 2 cards from their deck. And that's basically the deck. It takes super long. I mean, this is like a replay from an automatic dueling system, and it's sped up by multiple times. So keep in mind, I mean, if you're playing against this deck on like locals or regional level or whatever, it takes so much time. And I mean, if you're playing like at like a reasonable pace, it still takes up like, you know, maybe like the full 40 minutes. So probably going second, and you not really playing like not even Effect Failure is going to stop this deck, because you're only playing 1 normal summon, and that's the one of Librarian here. because of the draws, right? The counters, so for every 3 counters you get a draw. You could failure that, but as you saw, it's not that important. If you have it, it's cool, it just facilitates the combo, makes it a bit easier, but again, it's not needed to perform the full deck out combo. You could failure Mind August, but I mean, eventually you will just keep looping the second copy from the graveyard back to the hand. I mean, that was the gimmick with Gishki's sending. It's very similar to Invocation, send it back to the deck, get back Alistair. Very similar to this. Send the ritual spell in your graveyard back to the deck, and then take back one ritual monster from the graveyard back to the hand. So, I mean, the deck speaks for itself. It's not really that hard of a deck to play. It just takes up so much time. So again, if you want to really piss off your opponent, you're playing this deck. You could use card destruction as well to deck out your opponent, but make sure you won't be decking out yourself. Place number 2. This was close with the deck you just saw, but this one. Oh man, Jesus. It was featured on the Yugioh organization. I will leave a link in the video description, and it's a deck that's very easy to FTK your opponent in only 90 steps. Yes, 90 steps you'll be able to FTK your opponent featuring a card called Blue-Blooded Oni. It's a card that was, or a deck that was used by Jason Hutchinson, I hope I pronounced his name right, at the 2015 Australian National Championship. Again, I'll leave a link in the video description if you want to read up more information about that. But the deck had like 2 possible ways to, I guess, OTK and or FTK. Well, OTK, well, it's technically an FTK because you'll be using your Evil Swarm, your rank 4 one. Ouroboros, very similar to Trishula, to, I guess, loop your opponent's entire hand, and then, you can just pass, give your opponent a 1-off draw, and then, they're just able to play with only 1 card left because of Ouroboros. You keep, like, reusing, or you keep re-looping the same Ouroboros over and over again. Crazy stuff. It's really crazy stuff. I mean, if you saw the decklist, a format where like triple Lavalval Chain and triple Dagusta Emerald was legal in the same, it's nope, no. You're just asking to get like hand looped or looped in any other way. So how does the loop work? You're working towards the Blue-Blooded Oni, which is a zombie type, and of course you're always interacting itself with like double Utopic Future, the F-Zero. Why is that there? Because you need it, because Blue-Blooded Oni has the ability when it's on the field, like one of them when it's on the field, you can detach an exceed material of a monster on the field, on your side of the field, and then reborn a zombie from the graveyard. So that's why the F-Zero is there, because, you don't want to have your quote-unquote material-less dead Emerald and or Lavalval Chain on the field, just overlay them for another Utopic Future and then detach and, keep reusing your Blue-Blooded Oni, right? So again, the deck has like 2 possible ways to FTK, I guess. Yeah, let's just call it an FTK, either with Ouroboros, so again forcing your opponent to every time discard the card, but it just takes so long to first of all keep looping your Ouroboros, going for the Bujin link as well, the Bujin Exceed, Bujin Amaterasu, I believe the name is, to special summon the Banished Mizuki. Eventually, it's crazy how long this takes. So there it is, finally the first Ouroboros, and the way you will be reusing it is of course thanks to Daigusto Emerald. The second option to potentially FTK your opponent is with Tempest Magician. As you saw in the extra deck, like eventually you'll be drawing so many cards, eventually use or special summon or synchro summon Tempest Magician using like a level 2 tuner and a level 4 monster on your side of the field. It can like be Plague Spreader, for example, any level 2 tuner would do, and Tempest Magician, discard in this case like your entire hand and burn your opponent to 0 life points eventually. So there is Bujin Amaterasu. Bujin Amaterasu is important because it will get back your banished one of Mizuki to again reset it in your graveyard. It's always the same. Double Diamond Direwolf and of course going for Emerald, resetting the Emeralds and of course the Direwolf. It's just always the same. You're always working towards this particular field. Triple Blue-Blooded Oni and of course multiple Utopic Futures, I guess. F-Zeros, Emerald, keep relooping, special summon Oni. The thing is that, again, the deck has like, the combos and or the loops on their own are pretty straightforward, but it's so easy to, again, because there are so many decision trees you have to make, there are so many, I mean, you have to make sure that if you're going for Direwolf, make sure you're using your Oni on the field, detach your material from the Direwolf and then use Direwolf's effect. So again, there was like, as I mentioned before, with the deck like Synchro Fusionist, there isn't really any room for error. One small mistake could again stop your combo in your tracks and leave your field like this. Not that bad, but still, you're giving your opponent like still a turn to make a potential comeback. But I mean, for God's sake, for the video's sake, I'll eventually like, you know, stop the combo. So there is Ouroboros number 2, as I mentioned before. It's just the same, always the same. So Oni again special summoned, going for the third one, overlaid both Onis that weren't used. Again, send back Emerald, F-Zero, etc, etc. So eventually my next exceed will be again the... well, eventually, right? The Amaterasu. Amaterasu will eventually get back the Mizuki. It's always the same. I mean, imagine back in 2015 you entered the Australian National Championship and you're playing against this deck. You lost a dice roll and playing against this particular BS. But props to the player. It's also mentioned on the YGO organization website is that, I mean, people who played against this deck, they were actually smiling that this particular combo was possible. And I'm just going to quit it here, but I mean, multiple options, either FTK with Tempest Magician or, you know, keep looping your Ouroboros, right? So before we go to the number 1 spot, a couple of honorable mentions. The first one being DDDs, playing the deck, playing DDDs for the first time. Then we have another honorable mention being Ritual Beasts, also a deck with long combos, long turns that you're just, you know, like, oh man, it just takes so much time, it's not really that fun to play against. And then the last one, again, an archetype or a deck that's... you can't really make like a video without mentioning this deck, featuring the longest combo or one of the longest combo decks ever in this game's history. That's Infernities. The picture you saw here, or you're seeing here, is from the Yugioh organization website, talking about like a multiple day-long combo featuring Infernities, and it's not this particular loop. This particular loop is by Bahamut on Dueling days from back in 2011. I will leave the original source in the video description, but it's basically an infinite Trishula hand loop, and it's really infinite because of Daigusto Emerald, obviously, Prierata Brionek, and Livier as well. But what I was mentioning before, again, the link will be in the video description. There is an Infernity combo that takes up like multiple days, really long to take, well, like full combo, full loop, full deck out your opponent. It's crazy stuff, but there is one small problem, is that that combo is from 2013, it's an OCG combo as well. It was updated back in 2014, also by the Yugioh organization website, link in the video description, but the combo features Dueling, you know, also a synchro that's... ever since it was created, it's always involved into loops. But the problem with Dueling is back... like 2013, 2014, it was ruled in the OCG that Dueling was able to bounce back itself, you know, during the combo, but in 2015 that ruling got updated, and that was from then on not possible anymore. So that's why the combo from, you know, as you saw, was like multiple days is sadly not possible. anymore. So that's why I went with this one, but I mean, Infernities. You can look like Infernities nowadays, 2020 format with the new Infernity support as well. Yugioh draw, crazy stuff, right? But let's go for this, the good old school Mirage into, you know, 100 Eyes Dragon. Keep reusing your Mirage as well. Special summon it from your banished pile thanks to the one of Levier. And keep in mind, this is pre-errata Brionek. I mean, it's one of those card interactions that if it's legal all in the same format, you're just asking for BS. And that's, I'm looking at pre-errata Brionek, I'm looking at, for example, Trishula, Levier as well, and again, Archfiend keeps special summoning itself, you know, thanks to Necromancer, and again, this is the infinite Trishula hand loop, so you'll just keep special summoning the same Trishula over and over, because this is a deck from 2011 post-Banlist OCG, so that means that Trishula is at 1, and Infernity Launcher is also at 1, but again, Barrier was a TCG exclusive back then, but was released in 2011 for the OCG, so that's why it's in there at 3. So as I mentioned before, this is a starting, right? The triple Necromancer and the Brionek, you'll always be relooping or restarting your loop from this. Because again, pre-errata Brionek is not once per turn. Multiple Necromancers will keep, you know, using the effect. Beetle is the level 2 tuner needed to go for Trishula, but you'll just keep searching stuff from the deck thanks to your Infernity Archfiend. You'll never run out of outs because of Dagusta Emerald. As you saw, Dagusta Emerald will eventually send back the 2 Synchros, being the 200 Eyes Dragons, or yeah, the 200 Eyes Dragons, and any Infernity card. You know, doesn't really matter which one, that can be an Archfiend, doesn't really matter, just any Infernity card, because you'll need that search, as you saw here, for a discard cost. So what's the point of the deck? The point of the deck is to, first of all, again, infinite Trishula hand loop, but second of all, also, you know, search out the triple Infernity barrier for whatever reason. You know, just making sure that your opponent can't win the duel, or, you know, can't play the game. So there is Trishula again. Archfiend again hits the field, searching a blank card, it doesn't really matter. You again use Brionek, bounce back the same Trishula, there is the same 100 Eyes Dragon, banish the Mirage, that's always the same, and here again, the starting field of your loop, triple Necromancer and Brionek, so Archfiend using the effect, search, Levier, again Mirage, it's always the same. Discard, set back your Levier, Archfiend would have searched something, right? Levier, no, not Levier, but Emerald, resetting the target in the deck, and of course the 2 Synchros. It's always the same. So that's why Infernities, for me at least, takes up the #1 spot. I know there are so many combos and loops that probably take up more time. Feel free, I mean, if I missed any, feel free to leave them down below. If you have any other suggestions for these kind of like top 5 videos, can be anything, feel free to leave them down below. But it sure took up a lot of time, so feel free to leave a like for support. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Lithium signing out. Peace.